Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Daybreak on Trust Television, and we will now bring you the newspaper review that looks at the major headlines from the select major, or rather national newspapers. And we start as usual with the Daily Trust. And the major story here is to staying with the APC crisis. Tinubu meets Adamu Omishere, resolves rift over principal officers, and doses Akpabio Abbas's action. Issue laid to rest. It's a family affair. National chairman and president's men unhappy with chair. It is not about Adamu, but the North, ex-governors.
See, they always say there's no smoke without fire.
Without fire.
They did not operate in isolation.
Absolutely.
It was a well-thought-out plan.
Absolutely. The confidence with which those things happen tells you where that blessing is coming from. And now he says it's a family affair. All right, to the bottom strip, forgery. Mesoma makes U-turn, admits scoring 249 in JAM. This issue will not go away anytime soon, I'm sure.
I don't like the ethnic coloration attached to it.
It was terrible.
It is, and
it was terrible.
People are trying to go about a whataboutism campaign, asking Jam where's the 36 or 38 million naira that was allegedly swallowed by the snake, and trying to undermine the integrity of the body itself. I mean, they do have a case as far as calling for proper approach to investigating the issue, but I think if the body is this adamant about what they know, I think they will not go out of their way to make themselves look like not so serious people. I think they know best because they are the ones administering this examination, so they should know. Absolutely.
There are other sides to this story that I think should also come to the fore, which is the fact that the eventual highest scoring student turns out to be from the same state as that lady. What does appear to be playing out is that this incident is robbing the shine of that student who actually did score 360.
Right.
And people do not also take time to understand the fact that this issue was actually escalated by the state itself. So it wasn't JAM sitting somewhere and finding out that something happened. It took the commissioner of education in the state
to reach out
to JAM and say, because we want to reward this student, we want you to validate these claims. And that was where everything came to the show.
And I think that's a plus to Anambra State.
We are also not talking about that double check process, that unmasked whatever was happening. If this lady is a victim of any kind of structure, I think it's important that we deploy resources to unearth those kind of things. I was listening to Professor Oloyede today. Reading him talking about how computer centers have become experts in issuing fake results.
Fake results, and it's becoming rampant. It's a trend now where students use these claims to defraud people, to get certain incentives from sponsors and things like that. We're talking about a girl who just received 3 million naira scholarship from the good man himself, Mr. Innocent, and that in itself is something that should go to people who have merited such sort of recognition.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why it's important that we get to the root of this
Absolutely.
matter.
Moving on to other stories. Ferrari persists in aviation agencies over new directorate, and subsidy removal, Kwara reverses to 5 working days. This was one issue that everybody had hoped or had looked forward to how it would pan out. 3 working days for all that.
It wasn't going to last.
It wasn't
going to last. He just saw that there's so much work to be done. 3 days. How realistic is that?
Absolutely.
The government is losing a lot of money. We're talking about
of the public or civil servants. You can be sure that 3 days can become 1, because even 5 days, as it were, without any mention, it would usually.
Some people are always a no-show. On a regular basis also. Now you've given them more reason why they should stay at home.
They should stay away. And for those who even show, they show up sometimes at 11 a.m. and by 2 o'clock they are done. So you wonder what informed the initial decision in the first place.
That's subsidy removal. Right.
And telecom investment in Nigeria hits 56.7 trillion. This is coming from Dambata. and dollar videos, forensic analysis of exposed Ganduje anti-graft agency. Well, now it does appear that the anti-graft agency now understand the technology that is behind the video.
State Anti-Corruption Agency.
Well,
the big brother umbrella anti-graft agencies like ICPC or EFCC appear to not want to have anything to do with the dollar video. I mean, it's been what, how many years now? 4 since that video emerged?
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, this is where we are today. It has to be the state government to prosecute this obvious. I don't know how best to really put it.
We are watching. We'll see how this whole thing pans out. And pregnant woman dies as doctor begins strike in Nasser. It's unfortunate. Every time this has to happen, it comes without saying that there would always be casualties. And one wonders whether there are never any better avenues to resolve these issues than always resorting to a strike. And that's it on the front page of Daily Trust.
All right, let's turn our attention now to the front page of the Nation newspaper for today. Let's start with that JAM results saga. Why Mesoma was barred, according to JAM. 6 professors to probe result forgery. I got an SMS that I scored 249 points. This is according to the student at the center of the eye of the storm. Rep says stay action until probe ends. The House of Representatives is not going to miss out on this action. Do some further reading on pages 15 and 16. I am Metu. Visit Tinubu. OK's president's reform. Ayim Pius Ayim is with the APC now, right?
Well, he served as SGF in the government of Jonathan.
I think just before the 2023 election, there might have been a little bit of realignment there. I'm not sure if he's fully an APC person, but clearly political interests are shifting.
What has been clear is the president reaching out to all manner of people, whether in a bid
across
to consult widely or to create a sense of belonging in his government. Whatever it's happening seemed to resonate quite positively with a lot of people. The optics, we are not sure what the conversation is, but the optics alone, sort of communicates something.
He is enjoying some goodwill, political or otherwise.
Yeah.
Chief Olisa Metu obviously is one who is, has been in a not so good political position for quite some time, especially following that prosecution over the 400 millionaire that was part of the Dasuki Gate saga. But if you want to read out more about their thoughts after meeting the president, take a look at page 6 on the Nation newspaper. Work stalled on 24 billion naira Oshogbo Iwo Ibadan road. Page 7 has more details on that. I don't know. Yesterday, you were saying a lot about Ibadan, so I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I'm familiar with this road. Having served in Lagos for about 6 years, every time I had to come to Abuja, that was about my route if I'm traveling by road. It's a road that had been neglected for a while, and it's an important carriage. It's an important carriageway, especially for goods and human traffic, from that part to the north, the northern part of the country. So it's critical that we fix because the roads had been in very bad shape. They've become dens for armed robbery, whether by day or night. There is no sparing it. Sometimes they happen between 6 a.m. and 8, at other time at midday, at some other times at night.
The infrastructure deficit is just staggering.
It's huge.
I mean, in the name of the road itself, you're talking about Oshogbo, Iwo, Ibadan. These are all major towns as far as the southwest is concerned. UTM FLNG to build 1.5 million tons floating gas plant. We took the story earlier.
Yeah.
I think the prospects are there. It remains to be seen how this one is going to really change the
Especially when they talk around alternative energy. I mean, we can't sustain a 540.
No,
there is no.
It is not.
There is no overemphasizing.
It is not.
The reality.
It is not. Obviously. But below the nameplate, here are some other stories. NCC said telecom sector investment now 75.6 billion now. Is this an increase? What's happening to that? I think
it's huge. If you think of the fact that they started at around $500 million. If we convert that as we have in the case of the Daily Trust, we are talking about 56.7 trillion naira. That's massive. That's about the size, almost about the size of our debts as a country.
Exactly.
You know, and it shows you how much the private sector can actually mobilize if you run them efficiently, because these are not government funds.
Exactly. These are investor funds that are coming in to the country.
And all of that, yeah.
Also, in the NCC, I heard how the telecoms are losing about 4.5 or 4.3 million subscribers have been lost over the past couple of months. I don't know if it's from the last quarter or from the previous year, but the numbers are staggering, even though there's a lot more people that are signing up for telecommunication services. How about this one? Ekiti government stops kissing day. This is a P7 story. So someone has this opinion that Nigerians are trying to not just break the records in the Guinness World Book of Records, but they're trying to break the book itself by trying to come up with all of these.
Absolutely. It's like Hilda Bashi instead the honest.
Seriously, I think we should call. I think she should take some of the responsibility for this craze that's going on.
Absolutely.
Just 2 days ago, I saw the video of the masseuse collapsing because she's trying to break a 72-hour record, massaging people.
It's easy for you to want to envy people's achievement without understanding how much of hard work went into it. I am sure there's no doubt that somewhere between the lines, if Hilda ever gets to tell us the complete story, there must have been a mock.
So many dry runs that were out of the media space.
Yeah, out of the media space, trying to see what she could take. I'm sure she would have taken some medical counseling and some kind of test to understand if her body can withstand that pressure, and and beside that, she should have also gotten some kind of advice to say, okay, if you want to do this, you can do this to compensate for it. I mean, you don't just wake up and starve yourself of sleep and rest and engage in physical activity. This body was not designed to function that way. Even machineries have to be put off at some point. Yeah.
And this whole kissing thing is just ridiculous. It's not just immoral. It's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
I'm happy the government stepped in.
Absolutely.
And we just need to check our own excesses.
I mean, why not read books for 72 hours?
Exactly. Why not do that? Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, good one for the Ekiti State government. You want to read out about how they had planned to go ahead with this whole situation? Take a look at page 7. Discos intensify efforts to electrify, or rather, for electricity tariffs hike approval. So they're not relenting, obviously. Distribution companies weighing option of gradual increase in what consumers pay. So if you think that they're foregoing this alternative, it's not so, according to this story on the Nation newspaper. It continues on page 4. So yes, brace yourselves. You might be paying higher for the electricity you get to enjoy. Senate Minority Leader says we will build viral opposition. Our nominations are in order, according to this story.
Talking about building viral opposition, you wonder whether they're talking about building opposition within the parties or building opposition across parties, because
it doesn't
feels like the two major parties feel like three parties in one.
Exactly. And listen, what happened over the past 48 hours seemed to have signaled that maybe there isn't going to be a lot of horse trading, in the sense of, okay, our ideas are better, or we're going to hold you accountable. It's more or less like, okay, listen, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. And I think that's the kind of relationship they're trying to cultivate at the moment.
It's not surprising that we are seeing this play out, because if you take a deeper dive, a deeper look at the candidates involved, these are people who have had a history of being together from way back.
Right.
But for political exigencies, they splitted at some point and are now re-engaging at the center, even though they're putting on different jerseys, as the case may be. They are actually people with common interest. So like you said, we don't see so much of that opposition happening. What we continue to see is what has played out in the last 8 years. It will be opposition within the political parties rather than across political platforms.
Right. So you have that story about the UTM FLNG, which is talking about alternative energy sources. The president met with some investors, and let's say everybody was happy as far as the picture is concerned. Anyway,
the good thing from this is the fact that if you take a cursory look at what has happened around the presidency, like I said, even if it's just the optics, because we don't have all the details, it shows some kind of interest in the country, reawakening. You know, people are now showing up. All kinds of business people have paid visit in the last 40 days, be it Shell, ExxonMobil was here. Now we have these guys who are committing $5 billion. That's really huge. That's how you communicate to the world that you are ready for business. And if there are people watching on the sidelines, they begin to take you and say, okay, if the president is guaranteeing this kind of environment to allow people function optimally, we can as well key into it and try to see what we can get out. There is no other way to communicate to the world that you are ready for business than events like this. They will not happen overnight, certainly, but the fact that people are committing to this and they are putting it in the public space, if only 10% of all of these commitments see the light of the day, that would be huge addition to the country.
I would say these are small, big steps.
Absolutely.
And I would go as far as to say that it has everything to do with the effect of subsidy removal.
It does.
That was a very big signal that told the rest of the world that Nigeria is open for business.
Subsidy removal on the one hand, the president, well, subsidy because that had an impact on us, and everybody became interested in
domestically, it's a political conversation. As far as the international community is concerned, it's all economics.
Yes.
Nigerians just want to do business now.
Absolutely. There was the subsidy part of it. There was the FX unification part of it. There was the signing of the electricity law that now sort of devolves the power at the center to the states. In fact, you will recall yesterday we were talking about Ogun State. Promising to build his own generating and distribution plants. So what it has signaled to the world is a country that now understands what it takes to do business and is ready to do business. And the antecedent of the president, plays a lot of role in all of this. He came in and opened up Lagos to private sector participation and limited government participation to largely taking taxes and providing regulation immunity. If we see a bit of that in the center, that kind of commitment, however, with some kind of social safety net for people who will not be able to withstand what appears to be like a tornado in terms of transition, then we may just be getting it right.
Guess what? If these investments keep coming in, the safety net is only a matter of when, not if, because the government will have enough resources to be able to make things happen. Absolutely. And also on the front page of the Nation newspaper, Obi not LP member when nominated, according to Tinubu's counsel, at least in the tribunal. President, APC lawyers tender Labour Party membership register, close their defense. They rather close the defense really fast. Both INEC, the APC, and the president. So let's see how these developments unfold in the days to come. Lagos records 111 defilement cases. That's disturbing. Kwara returns to full working week. And that's about it on the Nation newspaper.
With the issue of defilement, I think you can excuse that on account of the size of Lagos. However, very disturbing, like you said. What we are not seeing is the resolve of the judiciary or even the instruments of law to prosecute as fast as possible.
Whatever happened to that doctor, the one that got arrested for a similar case? I don't know.
Well, so what
these are some of the celebrated cases that you would hope would send a signal to the rest of the community that this is not going to be tolerated.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, it's still dragging.
We're not saying that. It's one area.
There's the actor also.
Yes.
I can't remember his name, off the top of my head.
Yes, the one involved with the other popular female actors. Yeah. Let's see how that pans out. Moving on to the Punch newspaper and looking at things we had not already touched. There's this case of Nigeria's exports 23 billion electricity as local consumers lament outage. That is, we get these stories every other time of how we are a net exporter of power, while also struggling to find this power.
It's an irony for me.
It is.
It is an iron. I mean,
It
they
is.
always say you can't give what you don't have, but apparently we're able to give what we don't have.
But Nigeria is very special for this kind of actions. But again, I read in some quarters that we have to do them as part of our own big brother role to what appears to be neighbors that are extremely struggling, and in a way to stabilize certain things around our border rather than have them flood into this country in search of the good life. So it's a delicate balance between the little we have and how much we have to give out, I think. And moving on to other stories, we have this about the Lagos killer cop dismissed for shooting generator repairer dead.
How people get killed over the most petty, minute things in this country is just beyond me.
And then, like you said,
people get
this
killed
is not
over
the first,
50 naira.
It's not the second.
Over.
By the time the state makes a lesson of 1 or 2 persons, I'm sure it will send some kind of messaging back to other people who are not in similar intention. And then the major story here from Punch is of course staying with the flood alert. States order evacuation as FG issued disaster warning. And my problem with this kind of order, some to seem generic, like they are not telling people to move from wherever they are to some kind of safety camps provided by the state.
It's diagnostic, but it's not prognostic, in the sense that it doesn't really solve the problem by saying, okay, these are the solutions that we've identified. Whether
these are makeshift camps,
or how we're going to redirect the waters using sandbags or something like that. No, it's just, listen, something is coming.
Yes, just stay away
run.
from the path.
Yeah, just run. That's just
basically
run.
it. However, or wherever you run to.
Do you leave your house? Do you leave your homes, your farms, and just run? Run to where exactly?
All right. Of course, all of the other stories here does appear like the ones we have taken from the other papers, and that's it from the Punch newspaper.
All right, so let's turn our attention to the Guardian newspaper and see what we can make of some of the stories this morning. It says, Forex scarcity and naira devaluation, trouble in health sector as drugs cost more, or rather cost of care spike by 150%. Page 6 has more on this one. It says the average cost of treatment up by 60% to 150 in just 2 months. So we're not just talking about cost of commodity prices now, or inflation in the commodity prices. This literally happened from May to July, and it's more than 100% increase.
And these are areas where the government should be paying special attention. You can't have people confront price increases in just about every facet of their life. Whatever they can do, whether they call it subsidy or direct intervention, it's important to do this, because at the end of the day, you have to have a people to govern.
And we already know that most Nigerians are underserviced when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to access, and also when it comes to the quality of the care that they receive.
Absolutely.
So when you're now putting the money component on it, it is not only a problem of access and quality service, it's a problem of affordability now, because they can't even afford it.
Absolutely.
So we're talking malaria drugs, we're talking about, antenatal drugs for pregnant women, we're talking about, certain drugs that people need to be able to function properly.
And the danger of this is that people will start taking to alternative medicines that are not tested, that are not on the shelf, and the danger is you will begin to see all kinds of ailments pop up, especially those ones that have that are worsened by the various kind of uncontrolled chemicals that people take in the name of drugs, that end up worsening their organs and putting them in worse states.
Exactly. Okay, there's a lot more to read there. There's an infographic to catch up with that and try and make sense of whatever it is that you can. How about this story? Apabio under pressure faces uproar over uneven distribution of 500 billion naira loan to SMEs. Do you know anything about this story at all?
That's strange.
Is this something new? Or perhaps it has something to do with NDDC.
It should have something to do with NDDC.
I think it's
I don't
NDDC
think he's
related.
been in the position to distribute.
To do anything meaningful at the moment.
Yeah.
Sports levy, row over 150 million naira monthly deduction from police salary. Really? Okay. Do some further reading on page 4 if you want to get to the details of this story. Of course, these are all other stories that we've captured across some of the national dailies that we have reviewed already. So that's it on the Guardian newspaper.
And finally, we'll be looking at the Nigerian News Direct. And on a sad note, as we did mention yesterday in the course of the program, the News Direct is reporting this morning that a Ecomium pausing for its publisher, Dr. Samuel Ibiemi, who passed on yesterday. I remember reading some of those from Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo and the governor from the Ogun State governor and the Nigerian Guild of Editors, among others, where his practice.
The media has lost recently in print
and in broadcast.
In broadcast, it's a very big loss. And when these icons transit, it just puts the spotlight on how much gap is being left as a result of, because
transition.
much of their vision is guided by a philosophy that has allowed the media to remain a vibrant part of our society, and I'm not sure those shoes can be easily filled by the next not that the next generation is not capable, but we're definitely going to miss out on a lot.
Absolutely. When you take time to read about the environments that they operated, as opposed
it's quite different from what you have right now.
Absolutely quite different. And
right now you're dealing with smooth sails.
That's true. And they braved all odds to continue to put the media in strong footings. And today, regardless of what you see here, I think the nature of our vibrancy is something that is admired across the West Coast. They still look forward to a day where papers can look up the government in face and tell them just about anything.
Right.
Yeah. And moving on to all the stories, gas supply, Tinubu endorses 5 billion LNG floating project, which we have taken from most of the other people. And FG target 553 billion from petroleum unremitted shipping taxes. And the alleged fixed result, Mesama admits to forging UMT scores. These are the major stories on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. And with that, we've come to the end of the newspaper reviews for this morning. I hope we've brought you some very interesting headlines. You can do well to reach out to your vendor and read up on some of the details of this. The idea is not just to serve you the papers, but to how do you call it?
Stimulate your interest.
Stimulate your interest. Right. So what you have seen is just a tip of the iceberg. If you want to keep the newspapers on the stand and alive, then you must do your bit to go out and get yourself at least a paper. And we would see you at the top of the hour.
Somewhere you find that they look like the same.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.